The pretty foes. Let's do that. Welcome. Hello, everyone. Raquel Flores here with another amazing episode of the Influencers Connection Corner. I'm super excited to be here today with my guest of honor, Ariadne Medrano, and we're going to dive into a very important topic that I honestly am I just curious, and I would love to hear your perspectives on it. I know we have an expert here on the topic of faith. But so before we dive into all of that and get, wrapped into this entire topic, let's go ahead and run that intro and we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Influencers Connection Corner.
And we continue dancing. I always like to say, and dance, and dance, and dance. But anyhow, guys, welcome again. Happy Saturday. Yay. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe April is moving so fast. I cannot believe we're almost literally like it feels like half of the year already. But anyhow, Ari, how is your Saturday going?
Well, it is fantabulous. And I'm already going to say happy Resurrection Day, y'all. I mean, I know it's not Sunday, but we all know Jesus has already risen. So it's okay. It's okay.
I
Good
love it.
morning.
I love the energy as always. Adi brings it all, packs the power, the energy for all of us. And I love it. Oh, my camera. It's like out of focus. Hello. What's going on? I'll fix it in a second. But yes, Adi, so tell us a little bit about you. I mean, I know we've known each other for about a year or so.
Mhm.
And every time and well, ever since I met you, just your faith and how you walk in it, it's been very important. You've taught me so many different concepts and things that have actually helped me evolve as a human being, evolve in my own spirituality. As we move forward in the conversation, I'll share a little bit more about why I say I'm not religious, but I am spiritual, and I know many individuals are in the same on the same boat. But tell us a little bit about how did you walking into faith in your life, and a little bit about you as well, so people can know.
Yeah, gracias. And y'all, I mean, this isn't where I live, just so you know. They're like,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
her room is so fancy. I think it's fancy anyways. But no, I happen to be tuning in from Austin, Texas. I'm here to see my son for Happy Resurrection Weekend. And so I clearly wanted to be here, not miss it. So I'm taking the time from my hotel room at the Driscoll. It's so beautiful here. So that is what you see in the background. Don't get distracted. I digress. So, my faith, it kind of smacked me in the face, quite frankly, because I was born into a faith filled home. My parents were preachers at the time, Spanish speaking, um, and they were very foot forward. Let me just say to you like this, it wasn't the funnest thing. Is funnest even a word? I'm just going to make up stuff, y'all. To have
You
my
can go
father,
through it.
I'm
Yes.
going to just make it up, y'all. Y'all just know to have my father, it's like ring, ring, telephone. Well, whoa, sorry, I'm dating myself right now. I don't think phones ring like that anymore. But it was ring, ring, telephone. And my father would answer going, praise the Lord, Medrano residents. How may I help you?
Oh my goodness.
Yes, that face right
Wow.
there. My teenager, grade school, all my friends. And then if a boy called, I was like, Dad, you're so embarrassing. But truly, this is how he answers the phone every day, all day, till this day. That is my papa, right? And so faith was always foot forward in anything and in everything. And so as I saw through any challenges, my parents always took it back to the Lord, took it back to the Lord. So I learned for myself, all right, this is something that I need to do. And it's not just about being, to your point of religion versus, spirituality.
Mhm.
I was born into Catholicism, right? And so that wasn't by choice, it was a choice of my parents, right? But they actually gave me a great grounding, and there was a lot of rituals involved. So when people hear, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, sometimes folks are saying I'm not into maybe doctrine, or I'm not into, the rituals of religion, right?
Mhm.
Well, some of those things actually translate, or a lot of it translates even into business. That's kind of like saying I'm into business but not into the details.
I
How's that
see.
working for you?
Okay.
How's
Okay.
that working for you? Right? Because again, and we all define it differently, right? So God isn't interested, by the way, in the details of the doingness, right? So it's not about doing. So, for example, if people are going, well, I'm a good person and I go to church every Sunday, and God's like, and like, is it just your hobby? Do you just is it a hobby that you go to church every Sunday? Because what are you doing in between all the other days? So love as God is in the details of your life. So from very young, I learned that God is in the details of your life. And God isn't just this is a thing that we do on Sunday, but God is the thing. God is the Lord, capital T, capital L, right? So it's not a God, but the God. And so anything and everything that I do is for God. How that translates in business for myself, it is when you get me, you get all of me. When I'm in a
Ooh.
project, I'm not in it for the person on the other side. I'm not, because by the way, I may not like you. You may stink. You may not be the same religion. You may like remind me of goodness knows what from in my past, and maybe I don't want to do something for you. But as a Christian woman, I want to do it for Christ.
Mm.
And so, regardless of who you are, who I am is what matters most in Christ. And so, I will do XYZ, not for you, but for Him. And I'm going to do it in excellence.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
it's a whole other level. And by the way, I don't even have to speak His name out. I don't have
Mhm.
to put a big old cross on my chest or put Bibles everywhere or be like, hey, have you read Proverbs? Blah, blah. Like, no, it
Mm,
is in my
mhm,
beingness, not
mhm,
in my going every Sunday. Because who
mhm.
cares? Right. I mean,
And
it's good for me. Corporate is good. Corporate prayer is good. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and no, it's good that you bring that up because most people either gravitate to one spectrum or the other in the sense of like one side, or I have to be super religious where I have to be wearing that, show the world that I am. And at the end of the day, the reality is the way I've understood it is really it's the way you are and how you treat others, not necessarily what the facade you may come up as or the mask, the shield you might be wearing, but and I think that's really important because that may be in your personal life, but then how does that translate into your work life, into corporate, into whatever it is, into your businesses, and if you're an entrepreneur. But before we move on, I definitely want to acknowledge individuals in the audience. Thank you so much, everyone who's tuning in. Please let us know where you're tuning in from. We always love to give shout outs to all the parts of the world, and because I know that this show is watched globally. And so, Dr. Vivian Magnus, thank you for joining in. You got a fan there. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And yeah, comment, ask your questions because this is such an important topic. I think a lot of people think it's taboo. They don't talk about religious or politics, religions and politics, I should say, especially in the workplace or in a professional setting. But you get to know individuals and how they feel and what they think through those topics. Problem lies in when we're not mature enough to handle our emotional intelligence and get into debates and arguments. You can agree to disagree, as I say. I am not religious, I am spiritual. And that doesn't dismiss any of the faith and
Mhm.
truth to anyone else. It's just my experience. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. But so to me, Ari, how do we balance that? How do we balance it in the workplace, one, and then as a woman? Right. That's like a completely separate topic. But what would you say to that?
Well, what if I'm going to address what you just said about religious and spiritual and how that I believe would land on someone with emotional intelligence, right? Leading with I want to get curiouser and curiouser, right? Because that can mean something completely different to me, to you, or to the person beside you, right? And so when you hear someone's position, it's like, I'm so interested in that. It makes me want to lean in, right? I want to get to know what does that mean to you? Right? What is the difference for you? Because we may actually be way more aligned than we are apart, but when we don't take the opportunity, right? To get curiouser and curiouser, like Alice in Wonderland. I love her because
No.
she's always getting curiouser and curiouser, right? And then you begin to understand other people and then come from a place of understanding with others. And you'll see where we actually align more than there are gaps. But it's when we go, oh, wait, you're what? And I'm what? Yeah, no. And we just shut down. Well, then there leaves no opportunity for a community for understanding, right? Where that then translates also in the workplace is, I'm going to give you an example because, y'all know I love stories. So, story time. I was working for NBC Universal and I was working for the vice president of global information technology. So, there wasn't a lot of room for what you would think of, relationship or a lot of
Hmm. Hmm.
emotional bonding or anything like that, right? It's especially religion. And I remember my VP, and so I was the project director for his projects that he had. And he called me in and he just said, "How do you deal with my entire, like all of my people, my entire camp? Because you actually get folks to meet deadlines you actually meet them beforehand, and they're happy when they're coming to the table. Like, how is that possible?" And I
Yeah.
said, well, it's because I'm getting curious about them. It's because I actually ask them about their children. I ask them about how many kids do they have. I ask them when their birthdays are. I ask them how their wife is. I ask them how their husband is. I get curious about their lives. And so then they feel seen, heard, valued, right? The same things that we
Hmm.
say online actually translate in real life. And as a Christian woman, how does my faith play into that? Well, I'm actually who I say I am, not just on Sunday, remember? So
Hmm.
it's on Monday through Friday, through who I am and how I present myself isn't any difference in service, in church, in on a Sunday than who I am out of that. So I believe that the church is inside of me. And so I bring church to the table. And what does that mean? That means you get all of me. That means you get me to get curious about you. That means that I am interested in you. That means that I am empathetic, I'm understanding, but I'm also, let's find solutions because God is always also about finding solutions for you, right? He wants the best for you. So I want the best for you. And so when he asked me that question, how do you do it? Guess what that did? It opened the door in this office at NBC Universal with the VP of Information Global Technology to talk about who? Jesus.
Jesus. Okay. Okay. Okay.
And he was blown away. He's like, "That's what you do." I said, "Do you think I do this for you? Like, you're nice and all, and that's great. But do you know what motivates me to get up, to be part of your teams, to focus on them, to be in the details of it all, is my love for God, is my love for Jesus. So when I serve you, I'm not serving you, I'm serving Jesus. When I'm serving your team, I'm serving Jesus. So I'm going to always come in excellence. And that's what motivates me, and that's what drives me."
I love that. I mean, that is a very passionate and deep rooted motivation, right? In your purpose. And but how many of us are walking around without knowing our purpose because we have failed to really be in touch with that innate inner retrospective introspective self. And sometimes we just feel and I can add myself to that, it's we are not conscious or aware, right, of that spirituality that we all do possess. But once we do acknowledge it and are aware of it, how are we using it responsibly to be able to achieve our full potential? And I know, Adi, you met me at a time where I was, going through that transition of just exploring spirituality, coming from a non-religious background. And the reason why I say that is my family did a wonderful job of confusing me when it comes to religion, right? You know the story. Half of my family in El Salvador is Catholic, and the other half is Jehovah's Witness. So what would happen is I would be ping-ponged every other weekend from one to the other. And so when you are attending these places, it just created confusion. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, so we do have, a cura, un padre, whatever you want to call it, or we don't. We don't have that day. We have La Virgen Maria, or we don't. So it created such a confusion that when I came to the United States, I was like, I want zero to do with religion. I want nothing to do with religion. You guys confused me. Do I
Mhm.
believe there was a God? Yeah, of course. So the majority of my teenage and my young adulthood, I spent not wanting to talk about religion, not wanting to dive into religion because I just felt very played and confused. Uh,
Mhm.
did I believe there was a God? Yes, of course. Did I believe in Jesus? Yes, of course. And so innately, spiritually, I knew that I always believed. But then
Mhm.
once we start getting down to the labels, what would you call it? Right. So, can you talk a little bit about the label, especially as Hispanic
Mhm.
women, Catholic, Christian? Oh, don't even get it started. But how
Oh
does
my
that
God.
affect, right?
Oh, it is huge. So imagine my parents, and again, it's generational, right? You're Latina. It's the quite typical thing. We're Catholic, right? So when I come home and I pronounce my Christianity non-denominational, they're like, "What is happening? We lost her." That was my father. My mother, on the other hand, saw the results and the fruit of my life once I made for me, it was a very personal and relational switch to being in relationship with Christ. And so that is a difference that I found where I said, hold on a second. I don't need to have like an intermedium in between. Like I can go straight to God. I can just talk to him. What? Why didn't anybody tell me that before? So it that busted open the door for me to have this beautiful connection, right? And so my mother and it was like a family meeting with my with my parents, like because it wasn't then just me, it was me and then my brothers and then my sisters and then my other, like we all started gravitating toward being in relationship. So I am not about labels. I am about being in relationship, right? I am also about walking in biblical principles. We get a blueprint from God. Like we have a blueprint. That blueprint is there to support us, to guide us, to actually give us freedom, right? So when people say, oh my God, there's such rigid rules, actually he was the first parent. You want to learn parenting, good parenting principles, you want to learn decency and humanity, follow Jesus. Look at who he was as a man. Look at all that God did. Who, when we are walking within those, they're like bumper rails, right? When he's like, don't do this and don't do that, he's not doing it because he's saying, because I don't want you to have fun, because I don't want you to this and that, because I don't want you. No, he's saying, I know what the devil has on the other side of that fun that he's not telling you up front, that you will cry for, want to commit suicide for, want to be in addiction for, want like
Mhm.
he knows that. And because he's a good papa, like any other parent, he would go, hey, hey, little daughter, hey, little son, these are the things that I don't want you to get into because I see what's ahead, because I see the brokenness that'll happen. The devil isn't going to tell you. He's not going to tell you up front that you're going to suffer for the next 20, 30 years. He isn't going to tell you up front that you're going to commit suicide. He isn't going to tell you up front that you're going to end up losing your marriage. He's not going to tell you those things. He's going to tell you, yeah, look at porn. It's awesome. Get self-satisfaction
Mm,
every day, all day. It's
mm,
not going to ruin your marriage. He's going to tell you, yeah, keep drinking and drinking. Ooh, doesn't it feel good? I know. Woo, those worries just go away. Yes, go ahead and have premarital sex or sex here and sex there and sex everywhere. And we're not going to talk about the STIs and the STDs and some of those diseases that will, put you 10 foot under. Like he's not going to tell you all of those things. So instead,
mhm,
as a good parent, like we do with our children, you know, don't touch the fire because you'll get burned, right?
mhm,
Don't
mhm.
put your but we want to get into a position in relationship with God where we don't have to touch the fire to realize we're going to get burned. that
Right.
that we just trust enough where he goes, hey, just don't touch the fire. And because I know, oh, I know you want the best for me, so I'm just not going to touch the fire. I don't need to test who you truly are. I'm just going to do the dang thing and listen to you, right?
Mhm,
So I just think that when we look at both why we do what we do and who we follow, and the again, going back to the labels of it all, it's not about the label, but it is about how we are in relationship with God, right?
mhm,
And the biblical principles that we go by. And again, I go back to it's not about just showing up on Sunday, right? But it's like who my friends are. I don't just have church friends. I'm not a church Ari on a Sunday, or no, I just have friends. I have friends that go to service. I have friends that don't go to service. I have, it is the way that we live our life and abiding by biblical principles. And I
mhm.
also tell folks, listen, you can decide who you want to believe in or who you don't want to believe in. I know that I serve a miracle working God. I have the receipts to show it. So you can listen,
I
the
like
devil
that.
knows. Yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
because
I like.
the
Hmm.
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Daddy.
Because I can get on. Because I want to say the devil knows the Bible more than me. I'm not going to get into theology with you. I'm not. Because you're going to know more than me. The devil knows more than me. The devil knows that Bible inside or out. He can get you all twisted. But what I do know is what God has done in my life. And I,
Hmm.
like I said, and I have the receipts to
The
show it.
receipts.
So
Mm.
my experience in my relationship, what you're going to tell me the relationship that I have with Christ doesn't exist? Like you can't. That's not something that people are going to debunk, right?
Well, and I think it comes to a topic where you can't separate both, right? When you at the core of who you are, that is who you are. You're defining you serve your your God, and I'm going to say your God, irrespective of whoever you pray to, and this is for the audience as well. That for me, it's very important that there's I don't offend anyone when it comes to religion, just because I myself chose not to explore those. So when it comes to those topics, I'm like a very blank canvas, as I always say. I love hearing perspectives, different beliefs, and different why, right? Why they believe so and so and so. And so I say all that to say you're not wrong. You're at least what you're doing is you are exploring, you have faith, you have belief in something. And if we don't have belief in something in our lives, then what are we really doing? And because to me there's no purpose, then we're literally just walking around aimlessly in this world. And what fun is that? That's not fun. I don't think it is.
No, and I love that you were saying, you're not wrong. Listen, I don't have a problem with being wrong. If I'm wrong, here's the thing. If I'm wrong, what's going to happen? If there is actually no God and he did not ask us to be in biblical principles and the Bible doesn't exist and there really aren't any commandments and there is no heaven or hell, well, then if I'm wrong, who cares? Like, well, what's going to happen to me? Nothing. However, if I'm right and there is a heaven and hell and there are biblical principles that we need to go by, I'd rather be on that side than on the I believe I'm like totally, like I'm wrong, and then I end up being on the line, dying, whatever we say nowadays. And there is a hell, and I didn't live by all of that, and then I'm charged for the rest of my life, or whatever is on the other side of hell. I don't want to know. I'd
Mhm.
rather put my odds on you know, this has worked for me in the sense of I have guidance, I have truth in my life, meaning that I walk in truth, meaning that I walk in a person that is walking in purpose, on purpose, for purpose. And that actually serves not just me, but my community well. So that's where
Mhm.
for me personally, that's where I land. And that's the reason I land there.
Hmm. And that was my next question was how do you walk folks through all that? How have you well, first of all, I know how you got there, but when you discover your own, right, how are you able to pass that on to the next person? How do you impart it so that they too can have that emotional, I would say, I call it a release, because it is a
Yeah.
self-awareness. When it comes, it's just like, oh my God. Like literally we say oh my God all the time, but it's so superficial. We really don't have that
Yeah.
intentional meaning behind it, right? But once you really truly understand how it all feels and works inside, it is such a burden lifted off the shoulders. At least that's how I felt. So in your situations, how do individuals react to that?
Well, I love the way that you just said that, Raquel. I don't know why right now I wanted to call you Raquelita because that just really
Call me
touched my heart.
Raquelita.
Just I wanted to call you Raquelita because
Oh.
it is such an emotional thing, right? When you can exhale. So for those of you who are new, here, and maybe you've never had the Ari experience, to know where it started, to know that my boldness and the way that I speak and the way that I engage and the way that I connect is through the pain that I've gone through. right? When folks say, "Man, you have a fun life and you're always happy." No, I'm not. I'm trust me, I'm not always happy. Not whatsoever. Not with the victimization of myself, not with the victimization of my children, not with the victimization of my brother who just, went to heaven.
Mhm.
Through all of that, it was the exhale that I got from my faith in knowing that I don't have to carry the heavy yoke of it all.
Mm,
I don't have to carry the pain on the other side. I'm responsible for me and the way that I respond to the things that are in life. And the reality is when we say, you see it on bumper stickers when you see, Christians who say, not of this world, right? Then I'm going to need you to behave that way. Because when my son was victimized, how did I respond? Of the world or in or who Christ has called me to be? If
mm,
if I hadn't responded the way God asked me to respond, which was, he said, you need to forgive. He said, don't focus on the pain, focus on the lesson
mm.
that you can't handle this world without me.
Oof. I got goosebumps. Yes, I love that.
That's a release.
I love
That's the
that.
exhale. He's the
Mm,
exhale.
mm.
He's the
Yes.
exhale. And
Ooh,
and I'm and you, we're all little gods. So he's the big G, we're the little G's. We're God on display.
mm. I love that. God on display. Wow, that should go on a shirt. No, no joking. Not to make a joke, but it's true because you summarized it really beautiful there, beautifully in the sense that yes, we once we surrender, because I think that's another important word. We spend the majority of our lives just fighting it. I gotta get to the next thing. I gotta get to the next thing. So much pressure that we place on ourselves, or the external sources, whatever. We place so much pressure that we really lose track of what it is that we're supposed to be doing in this world, on this earth. What is our purpose? So when you find out that you can surrender, and when you actually
Mhm.
surrender, it is such a release. So, and I'm speaking from my own experience, right? And that's been to recently, because it recently I have two young girls, right? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what morals
Mhm.
and values am I going to pass down to these children so that they have some sort of compass and guide in life? And so I really started doing that deep introspective self, retrospective work.
Yeah.
And I found that I've always been spiritual. Yes, I've always believed, but now let's define it. What does that mean? How does that look for me in my life? And how am I going to apply it so that they emulate as well as they continue in their growth journey? But it's so important. For me, it has
Yeah.
been life changing, absolutely life
Yeah.
changing, knowing that he's got me despite the ups and the downs. And let's be honest, I mean, life is life. Life is going to happen to all of us. Life is going to come, the freight train is going to hit us from left and right, and we never expect it. But at the end of the day, you have the choice to continue to surrender and say, I know he's got me. And it's difficult to
Yes.
have faith in something that you cannot see. So
Oh,
let's talk
oh,
about that
oh.
part right there.
And here, faith is believing in what you cannot see, right? Because if I could see it, if I knew exactly the blueprint of how God works, if I knew exactly what was on the other side, then why the heck would I need Jesus? I don't need him.
Yeah.
That means I'm just relying on myself and the world and those around me. But
Hmm.
I believe in what's unseen because I believe in the power in me that was given in me through Christ. He said, "You will do greater things than me."
Hmm.
Well, I don't know about you, but he created the heaven and the earth. Right. This is the one God, by the way, who has never been created. He is the creator. There is no creation of the creator. He is the great I am.
Hmm.
So when you spoke about labels, God already knew all the labels that were going to come centuries ahead of time. So he
Hmm.
wanted to make it very clear. My name, my name is only
I,
label. It is a translation of how we talk today and say, I don't know if you've heard me before, I say, I be who I say I be. And that's what he says.
therefore,
I
I
am
am.
who I
Yeah,
am.
exactly.
Exactly. So so there wasn't, he's not going to change his name because we changed, right?
Hmm.
Because we decided to put additional labels or redefine things. He was like, yeah, no, I am. Period. Full stop. Point blank. Know who I am.
Hmm.
And because you can lay in that, literally lay in it, right, when you have nowhere else to go. Because I know that this conversation and many other conversations, you can hear people go, oh yes, sure, faith is great, this and that, and I'm a Christian, and you're happy, and I'm always positive, and I'm this and no, you're not. Stop lying. You're not.
Hmm.
Why? Because we're not in heaven. God said there'll be no tear shed in heaven, not here. Why do bad things happen? Not because we have a bad God, because we have a devil that's also running around. Can we just stop blaming God for all the crappy shit? Did I just say that? Yes, I did. Sorry.
The
For all the
stuff, the
crappy
stuff.
stuff,
Yes, the
the
stuff.
stuff that happens in life, because there is an actual devil, there's an actual enemy that's
Yeah.
coming in to us, right, that
Hmm.
wants to debunk all that he's doing out there, that wants to debunk you, because he doesn't want
Yes.
the best for you, right? He wants you to suffer, he wants you to be in pain. And by the way, if you're out here doing all this like cray cray stuff and you have no care in the world, and he's like, awesome, I don't need to worry about you, right? But when you are, especially as a Christian, and that's why I'm saying or I do say, is anyone who's saying, I give my life to Christ, or I want to, or even us wanting to bring someone into Christianity, I think we give like this rose petal flowers and rainbows to them, like, come in and your life will be amazing and God will cover all. And yes, he will cover all. But know that to be a Christian means you're picking up a cross.
Mm.
To be a Christian means you're being crucified.
You're a target.
You're not just a target. And this is going to be how it translates to business. And you and I were talking about this a couple of days ago.
Hmm.
You're crucified to yourself, meaning you die to yourself. To be Christian to me means you die.
Hmm.
I want to say that again. To be a Christian means you're committing to your own death.
So death to self.
It's death to self. And so, even in business, and maybe you're going, how the heck is she relating that to business? Well, as entrepreneurs, what do we constantly say? Right? Is it about you? I mean, yes, I know you want money and all the things, right? We all need that to live and move forward. But when you're in business, are you in business to, all for you? Or are you here to give? Are you here to give a product, a service? Or that means that you can't focus on just you. That means you're focusing not on you, but on you out there. That's another way that you die to self, right? So I'm not thinking about me, I'm thinking about you. As a Christian, I'm not thinking about me, I'm thinking about you, the other person on the other side of me. So
Mm.
everything about who I am and who I be is in relation to the humanness, the goodness of me for the experience of you, to draw you in Christianity closer to Christ. In business, it can work the same because you can lead to these conversations, just like I talked about my VP and NBC Universal,
Hmm. Hmm.
about how I was leading my life. But in business, it's I'm providing this service, I'm providing this thing, of excellence, right, for the benefit of you.
Mm.
So who I be is a gift to you, right? So these are transferable skills, is what I'm saying.
Hmm.
And you want someone coming from a place of goodness, from a place of authenticity. Like you don't want something, that's going to fall apart on you. Right. You don't want someone that just presents itself really cute and beautiful and wow, this is such a fun thing. And then 2 seconds later, it just breaks apart. You're like, damn, it really wasn't constructed
Yeah.
correctly. It had no foundation. It's
Right.
just like a person. Someone can present themselves really pretty and really put together, guy, woman, whatever. And then when you get to be in relationship, there's nothing there. There's nothing sustainable. There's nothing grounding them. They're like a tumbleweed. They're here, there, and they're everywhere. right? So
Mm.
these are really solid transferable skills, not only in your humanness and in Christianity, but your humanness in business.
My goodness. Whew. That could be like a whole, it's like a series right there. Don't even let me get started on that, because so much of what you've said, has applied to my life. It's applied to the last 40 years of my life, as a entrepreneur, as a employee, as a mom, as a sister, as a daughter. There are so many different layers to ourselves, our beings, that sometimes we really don't even know how to start unraveling them and understanding where something comes and why we do what we do. It's because at the end of the day, we don't have that inner balance of, really, we don't know who we are at the end of the day. And that's a huge thing. One thing that I wanted to mention, speaking of how, for me, how I view faith and the place it has in business, or in the workplace, or in just in the professional realm. Let's just mention it like that. It's the
Mhm.
aspect of self-doubt. I
Mm.
look at the concept of the devil, evil, and everything that is bad, as being a seed that is planted of self-doubt. Because self-doubt, once self-doubt is in you, it just grows and grows and grows and grows, and it takes you to the opposite side of what God is has put you on this earth to do. So for me, that's the
Right.
way I understood it. So what this once you feed self-doubt, once that seed of self-doubt starts sprouting, it's going to go into so many different parts of your being. It's going to affect the daughter, it's going to affect the mother, it's going to affect the entrepreneur. So it will halt me in my tracks, in any progress or any momentum that I may have, because at every single moment I will be doubting what I'm doing. And that is what that is another death to self, as I call it, but it's more of the non-productive one. So I'm sacrificing myself and who I'm supposed to be for nothing, basically.
Mm.
The evil wins, the devil wins. So that's the concept that I understood, because as an entrepreneur, as a professional, is that when self-doubt is present, the evil is present, because I'm letting that self-doubt win, and it's halting me in continuing my path in my professional journey. So sorry, it's like I went on a loop there, but that's how I understood it.
Yeah, again, love the comment and the question and the opportunity to clarify, because self-doubt is confusion, right?
Mm,
And confusion is not of God. Confusion is of the enemy.
mm,
Taking a disciplined pause is very different,
love that.
right? So a disciplined pause and self-doubt, two different things. The disciplined pause comes in wisdom, comes in, let me just get rooted in the authority of who I am and what I know. And if I need to know something more to grow more, then let me take a pause and let me sidestep here to get some additional understanding that I may need to be more either solid in the decision, or maybe just like, you know what, I don't know what's on the other side of this. So that's fear, right? But I trust in what I am discerning, which people call like, oh, I have a gut feeling, right? That gut feeling is called discernment, and that is spiritual. That did come from God, right? We're going, you know what? I'm scared, but I'm gonna do it scared, because regardless, I know that I'm grounded enough to handle whatever is coming my way. On the other side, you have confusion, fear, doubt, and yes, it's of the enemy, and or maybe it can also be that 95% other programming that you have in your life from when you were an itty bitty, chicanita, chicanito, little Latino, whoever you are, in your itty bittiness into all of who you are today, all the things that have influenced your thinking. So there is a phrase that we use in drugs and alcohol addiction and recovery. Um, it is called, you're having stinky thinking, right? It is not just when you're in addiction and or in recovery. It truly is a stinking thinking of the things that you have brought on. So we're all carrying, you've seen those pictures of those suitcases,
Yeah.
right, of our lives. And so are the suitcases talking? Is it, 12-year-old Ari? Is it 5-year-old Ari? Is it 21-year-old scared Ari that is calling the shots right now? So it
Yeah.
may not actually be it's a devil that's coming at me. It just may be me coming at me. And I have to be
Mm,
able to discern, right, what I'm doing in fear, which fear is not what I am rooted in, right? So I offer up to the rest of y'all is to root yourself in the grounding of who you actually are. And that, to your point earlier, does take work. Who am I? What
mhm,
am I grounded? What actually do I believe in? Because 90 to 95% of our programming comes from other people's beliefs of who I am or who I
mm,
am to be. And
mm.
to go in, to go back, to go, you know what? I got to go on an excavation of who I am
Whew.
and 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 who I'm going to be now. And by the way, this is going to open up a whole other can of worms, but I do want to say this. And by the way, sometimes, many a times, when we grow and when we know who we are and what we are walking in today, there are going to be people in our life that want to hold you to who you were yesterday.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so your opportunity now is to say, thank you for being who I needed you to he needed you to be for me back when I was, but this is who I am today. And if you cannot accept who I am today, then I am going to have to love from afar, right? I thank you for what you've given me. It's like the honoring of who they have been, but where you are going, for you to keep growing, you cannot continue to bring the past to your present in order for you to get into your future present today. So those are challenging things for in your personal self that you're going to have to stay a stand.
Mm-hmm.
Take a stand on you. Take a stand on you to really get to all those better versions of you that you want to be, growing and knowing. And it's going to come with the release of not just other people's understanding of who you were back then, but you understanding who you were then and how it's not serving and helping you now in order for you to move forward in purpose, on purpose, for purpose.
Oh, Jesus. Guys, I hope you're all taking notes. This is going to be team replay, 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 literally perpetually. Because in Ari, you and I have talked about this. This is a evolution. This is a journey. It's a perpetual journey. This is not a one shop, you know it all, or one stop, you know it all. No,
Mhm,
this is a
mhm.
continuous evolution of the self, of the who it is that you are. And we continue discovering ourselves in different
Yes.
ways. And like I said, if you know how people look for love in another person, or when I have a partner that they're going to complete me,
Mhm,
I don't believe in that. I don't subscribe to that.
mm-mm,
But for a long time, I had that erroneous mindset that that's what it was. It's like two people come together and yeah, they make one another happy. No, it has to be a compliment. It took me years to understand that. But
yes.
the only reason why I was able to understand that is because I had to go back and understand that the notion that I had that was ingrained in me was not correct, right? And that was what the external sources had been feeding me. So being able to just debunk that, know that that's not my truth, and really root in my truth and what I believe, then has guided me to people like you, individuals who are
Mhm.
surrounding themselves around me to support, right? And community is everything. I'm going to go out and just say that. It doesn't matter which faith you are, which believe, who you pray to. Community
Yeah.
is a survival, tool. I would say. How has community for you helped Ari in your evolution as a woman, as a mom, as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, what I believe my legacy to be when I'm no longer here and I graduate to heaven, I would love people to be able to say, wow, she fiercely and passionately loved God and loved people, period. That love people part means that I need to be with people,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
Um, at least for me, it does. To be in community. If I am not in community that is when I say serving me, I have this like love dislike position when we say, do things that serve you well, because I just think that's so like self-absorbing. But I understand, like I just hope people understand that there's a differentiation between I'm number one, um and doing things that are positive for me and my community in life, right? So that's the kind of the self-serving that I lean into. So is the community there to fill in gaps? Do I fill in their gaps? Right? Because am I a taker in community? Am I a giver in community? Is there reciprocity in community? That's really important, right? So for me to be in community, as I've known as I've gotten older, as I've wiser, right? Been able to discern more about my life and the people, places, and situations that I have placed myself in to get different results. If I wanted to change those results of my life, all that victimization, all that drama, all the trauma, all of those things, the one common denominator in all of that, me, me.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to change the results of my life, guess what I needed to change?
Yep. Just get a
it,
mirror, y'all.
It's because I'm only in control of me. I cannot control the people that are around me. What I can control, however, is who I have around me, right? Are these folks that are going to add value to my life, right? Are they also folks who I am going to add value to their life? So that is iron sharpening iron. So community is so important to me because iron sharpens iron. And by the way, that doesn't mean that everything is roses and unicorns when iron sharpens iron, because if you've ever seen iron sharpening iron, it hurts. Sparks are flying everywhere, right? It's not pretty. There's fire, right? So there's friction. But what comes out of that if you stick to it, right? And that's where love, transparency, authenticity, understanding, curiosity, respect all come into it, right? Is you get this beautiful peace, right? So then you get these beautiful relationships that are sustainable because you are open, you are honest, you're understanding, and forgiveness plays into it, right? Now, again, I'm not talking about abusive relationships, right? But I am talking about relationships where you can come, speak, understand, learn, grow, empathize, and be able to fill in some gaps when I'm not able to. I'll tell you, one of the most beautiful things that happened for me were having those gap fillers of friends when I was going through the toughest of times. And I'm still going to be going through them because I'm on earth, right?
Yep.
And so those times will be coming. So choosing your community wisely is extremely important, not just
Mm.
for who they are to you, but who you will be for them.
Mm, who you will be for them. And and that to me it's a lot because I feel that I'm a servant leader. I want to help everyone that I come in contact with. Obviously that is not possible, but we
Mm-hmm.
love to believe that we have a kind heart and we walk in faith and we walk in, or we're image, right? God on display. You said it earlier. It
Hmm.
needs to go on a shirt, okay? God on display. So it's a beautiful thing that you are here, or we are here to serve, and to help as much as we can. However, we cannot forget ourselves as well. So if we don't have a solid foundation in ourselves, then how are we going to be able to help and fulfill that purpose that we've been tasked with, or enlisted to do and carry out? So that to me, it's always resonating because it deals into the burnout. It deals into everything, like business, work, and professional world. There has to be a balance. What is the balance? Does balance really exist? All those questions come, right? This is like I'm telling you, this is a whole series, Addie. You think I'm kidding?
Okay, listen, I'm just going to debunk the whole balance does not exist. What the heck? Like, no, especially if you're an entrepreneur. And I know a lot of people like to talk about this, but you have your opinion, I have mine, and mine is if you want to, or when you want to excel in something, you've got to give it all you got. And there, quite frankly, isn't balance in that. What I will say or propose to folks is be 100% in whatever you're doing at that moment. right? So what that means is, see, something is always going to give. I may be 80% in the business or on the business, and then 20% with my children. Am I with my children or am I on my children? Same difference, y'all, same difference. So even if you have 20% with children, or if there are seasons where you're like, whoo, there's a lot going on, which I had, and I had to give 20% to work because 80% was my life was being consumed by the victimization of my children. You best believe, though, that 20% that I had in the days at work, I went full flipping force. You would never know that I had anything going on at home
Mm,
because I gave everything I had in that 20%. I wasn't taking other phone calls. I wasn't doing other things. I am in all in 100%. So if I'm on this other thing, whether I'm 10%, 5%, 50, so of my time, but of my energy, of my wisdom, of anything else that I have to give of me, I'm all in. So I offer up to folks to not put so much pressure on the I have to have this work life balance. I have to just be in what you're in, be accountable and in it 100%. Walk in excellence. The percentage then won't matter,
mm, mm.
period.
The
Because it's just
present,
like saying,
yeah.
go ahead.
The present is a present, right? I've heard that, and just be fully present and have intent. I think those are it's a powerful combo
Yeah.
that will literally give us momentum and propel us to continue in that excellence. And Ari, I just glanced at the clock and I was like, "What? We're almost been talking for an hour." I'm like, where did time
We're
go?"
done, y'all.
You will definitely have to be back. We're gonna have to do like a summer series of some sort of like, diving into the self summer series with Ari and Raquel,
Mm.
something like that. Self,
This
self
has been
growth.
great.
I just think it's gonna be something amazing because we it's a beautiful thing. It's like we never really truly know ourselves, and to be able to jumpstart and kick that off to do that introspective work, it's so healing and
So
liberating. Those two
healing.
things. uh,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. So, having said that, guys, I know there are a couple of questions in the comments. Please ask your questions as well. I know Adi is so gracious and generous with her time as well that she will go back and respond
Yes.
to any of the comments specifically for her. But how do people work with you? How can they work with you, and how do they reach out to you, Adi?
Thanks. So you listen, my DMs are open. So you can go ahead and DM me there. I'm here on LinkedIn. You can DM me on Instagram. That is your quickest way to me at the moment. I am currently writing my book, and it is about going wheelchair to dance for in 21 days. I didn't even talk about that. So I want to make sure that you all also know is why I have such a humongous faith is there has been a thread in my life of miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle. The last one, of course, was a tumor that I had in my head. Woke up paralyzed all on my left side, 47 staples in my head. The tumor was taken out. Thank God it was not cancerous. But clearly, I have a walking in purpose, on purpose, for purpose. I mean, literally, I walk in purpose because I'm walking actually now. And so the story of that will be coming out. And so I'm putting a lot of attention into that. But for now, if you'd like me to come in to speak in your business, to speak about resilience, to speak about communication, relationships, on the church side, if you'd like me to come in to speak about faith, focus, action, being committed to it all, my DMs are open. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, guys. Well, let me tell you all that Adi has been such, not only as a professional and expert in her wheelhouse, but as a friend. It's
Mm.
it's just been so enlightening, and to have someone to help. I wouldn't say carry that load, but allow me to view the load that I have, and then to
Mm.
realize that I don't have to carry that load by myself. So, oh Jesus, okay, nah, not gonna cry, not gonna cry. I wanted to take this moment definitely to thank you. Just because ever since you walked into my life, it's been a transformation for me.
Wow.
Has it been all like at poof, like at the work of magic? No, because at the end of the day, it's what that awareness, what we do, what we choose to decide to do with that awareness, and that knowledge that we now have how can we turn that into wisdom through our stories and through our own life? So thank you, Adi, for giving me the gift of awareness and helping to carry some of that load that I was carrying unnecessarily. So I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
I would like to say one thing back to you. And I receive that wholeheartedly. And I thank you so much for that, because we all need to know that we are valued, right? Or we're seen, or we're actually being purposeful, right? So we only know that when we share with others. So I receive that completely. And I'm also going to say to you, it was the gift that you gave yourself, Rocky,
Oh,
because you chose to hear, to be open, to receive, to implement. That wasn't me. I was just a vessel that gave you support and information. You chose to receive it and apply it and change outcomes in your life. You
mm,
are the one to be empowered. You decide the results of your life. And I'm so
mm.
proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
Oh,
That's what I
oh.
wanted to say.
You hear it, guys. If you want to be empowered, talk to Adi, okay? Because it is life changing and transformational. I'm a testament to that, and I can't. And now it's like it makes me more excited for the future self, for the future versions of
Oh, I'm
myself
so
that I
excited
know
for
are
you.
there. So, yeah, we have to do a summer series. End of it. End of story. That's how it's gonna be. But anyhow, guys, I see you in the comments. Thank you so much for being here with us on this
Thank you,
wonderful
guys.
Saturday before celebration of Sunday.
Resurrection Day! It's the
I
Super
know.
Bowl of Christians.
So, celebrate out there, hug your families,
Yes.
dive deeper into who you are and your purpose in life. We are here. We're a very safe community. If you have any questions, if you feel like reaching out to us, please do. Please do it. We won't judge. We're all humans. We're here. We're equal. We're all the same. And I always
I
say
will
that
call you out on your stuff, though. I'm just going to say.
in
I
a
give it
very
to you straight with
loving,
no chaser.
way, though, I would
I
say.
do. I do. All right.
But guys, yes, so this is why we're here. This is the importance of community. So please, please, please reach out. Anything that we can do for you, we are here. Again, thank you to Adi. Thank you so much for being here and imparting us with your wisdom. We look forward to continuing this series somehow, somewhere. Okay. All right.
I
And
love you.
we love you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And to Miss Syya,
Thank you,
shout out to you,
guys.
Syya, too. I love you too, Syya. I hope you got your beauty
Love you, Sia.
everywhere.
And love you guys. Everybody here know that I may have glasses, but it's a little challenging for me to see everybody in here. But I will be in the comments, just like Raquel said. I love
Yes.
y'all.
And so before we sign off, let's go ahead and give a shout out to our huge, huge sponsor that we love, Tausi, Tausi brand, to the wonderful Janice Shokri. And so direct Syya, if you don't mind running that. And then that will be it, guys. Okay. So love you guys. See you next time. Hasta la vista. Ciao.
Falling asleep
Adios.
with your neck in the wrong position can be a real pain in the neck. Literally. People of all ages are falling for Tausi. Tausi gives you the comfort you've always dreamed of. Go to TausiBrands.com and get your comfort on.
Thank you for joining. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe and follow us for the next episode.